Okay.
Oh boy.
We are going to start on page 54. Act 2, Scene 2. Okay, where we stopped, Macbeth had given the famous dagger soliloquy and had heard his wife ring the bell, signaling it was time for him to do what he was supposed to do. So scene 2 opens with Lady Macbeth. And we're going to leave the question that says, where are they, for just a moment, because that's going to be revealed to you.
Later?
Very
Wait, what do you mean?
quickly. Is the first question say, where does the scene take place?
I don't know. Like, there's the beginning one.
Oh, it doesn't, because this one doesn't have the same kind of questions.
Yeah, it was like 9.
Yep, okay. Alright, any volunteers for the lady?
Me?
For Macbeth?
I'll do Macbeth.
Okay, thanks, Maya.
Yep.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, poo. Just open the same one. I was like, I swear they don't say that in this. What the heck are we reading now? That which hath made them drunk hath made me bold. What hath quenched them hath given me fire. Hark, peace. It was the owl that shrieked with the fatal bellman, which gives the servants good night. He is about it. The doors are open, and the surfeited rooms do mock their charge with snores. I have drugged their posets, that death and nature do contend about them, whether they live or die.
Now it says Macbeth within, meaning he's not on stage, but we hear his voice.
Who's there? What? Oh.
It means like just an exclamation like, hey, or what?
Yeah.
Not like
Oh.
garden tools or other things.
Alack, I am afraid they have awaked, and 'tis not done. The attempt and not the deed confounds us. Hark, I laid their daggers ready. He could not miss them. Had he not resembled my father as he slept, I had done it.
Okay, so when she hears Macbeth, her first concern is
My husband. Well, he died?
no,
But he did it? Up. I'm afraid
Yeah.
that he
That
did it. Guards awakened.
that it wasn't, that the task has not been completed, that he screwed up somehow. Then she says, what really disturbing thing?
That she put the daggers where he could see them?
Well, yes, she did, but something else.
Well, at the end, that she was gonna kill the king, except he looked like her dad.
Okay, she would have just killed him herself, except the sleeping
Says
Duncan
the lady who said she'd kill her own
reminded
child.
her of her own father.
Mm-hmm.
So she could kill her newborn baby, but not her father.
Wait, did she really kill her child?
No, she just said
she would.
She would.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wait, do they actually have a kid in this, like Macbeth and the lady?
There is no indication.
Would they be younger than they're portrayed in the movie we're watching? Do you think?
Well, Fleance's son, I think,
You mean Banquo's son?
yeah, Banquo's son Fleance is the best indication of how old someone could be.
Right.
But we don't know how old he is either. So I
So
don't
he
really
could be
know.
like 10
Or yeah.
ish.
Okay. Macbeth comes in and he has the bloody daggers in his hand. Should he?
They should be by the guards.
Correct. Okay, go ahead, lady.
I have. Oh shoot, my bad. I heard the owls.
No,
What? Oh, my husband. I've done the deed. Didst. How do you say that?
Bow.
No, I meant
Didst.
did. Oh, I said it.
Didst.
Okay. Didst. Now hear, not hear a noise. I heard the owl scream and the crickets cry. Did not you speak? When? Now. As I descended. I. Hark. Who lies
In the
second chamber. Donalbain. This is a sorry night. Or sorry sight.
A foolish thought to say a sorry night.
You asked her, you said night.
She did.
I said my bad. To say a sorry
I'm
sight.
sorry, I'm so bad at reading this.
Words have been very difficult for me. My bad.
There's one did laugh in sleep, and one cried murder. That they did wake each other. I stood and heard them, but they did say their prayers and addressed them again to sleep.
There are two lodged together.
One cried, God bless us, and amen. The other, as he had seen me with these hangman's hands, listings, their fear, I could not say amen. When they did say, God bless us.
Consider it not so deeply.
But wherefore could not I pronounce amen? I had most need of blessing and amen stuck in my throat.
These deeds must not be thought after these ways, so they will make us mad.
Methought I heard a voice cry, sleep no more. Macbeth does murder sleep, the innocent sleep that knits up the raveled sleeve of care, the death of each day's life, sore labor's bath, balm of hurt's minds, great nature's second course, chief nourisher in life's feast.
What do you mean?
Still it cried, sleep no more, to all the house. Glamis hath murdered sleep, and therefore Cawdor shall sleep no more. Macbeth shall sleep no more.
Okay. A theme and a motif of the play are revealed here. Okay, we know a theme is the message that the author wants us to understand about humanity or a certain topic. A motif is it's kind of like a symbol, except it doesn't really have like symbolic purposes. It's just something that is repeated over and over again in a text. In this story, one of the main motifs is sounds, noises. So, if you go back to Lady Macbeth's opening speech, what sounds does she hear as she waits for her husband?
Owls.
Yeah, she heard the owl and the bellman.
Okay, so it says, it was the owl that shrieked, the fatal bellman which gives the sternest good night. And if you look over in the side note, it says, the town crier who sounded the horns of the night and tolled the bell on the evening before an execution.
Wait, what?
Okay?
So we get executed. Well,
Yeah, who's getting executed?
So the owl's the bellman.
Not
the king.
The king is getting executed. So she hears an owl outside, which to her is a symbol of the impending murder. Then Macbeth comes in and says, hey, what did you say to me? And she's like, I wasn't talking to you. He says, I heard there was someone talking. And they realized the voices were coming from
The next room.
the next room, which is scary because they assumed everyone in the entire castle would
They
be
thought they were all asleep, but
asleep.
really there was people
So they could
awake.
maybe
So
heard
then they're all
something.
Okay.
nervous that they're gonna get caught for killing the king, and then it's all gonna.
Then, to make it even worse, Macbeth reports 2 disturbing things that he hears. The first one is what? What's the first thing he
People
hears?
saying not to go to sleep.
Before that.
Hold on. God bless us and amen.
Okay,
Oh,
so they said amen. They said God bless us, and Macbeth couldn't respond with
Amen.
amen, which might be a symbol or represent what?
evil, like he's just unholy. Dark now.
Yeah, he's unholy now, so he can't.
Okay, how does
Say-
that one thing make Lady Macbeth bold?
Hold
Just
on, we'll
said-
come back to that one. What other noise alarms Macbeth? What Kylie was about to say.
People saying not to sleep.
Okay.
Sleep no more. Sleep no more. Macbeth does murder sleep.
And then down in the next speech he says, Glamis hath murdered sleep, and therefore Cawdor shall sleep no more, Macbeth shall sleep no more. Why would that be such a terrifying thing to hear?
Because it's like Macbeth. Or it's kind of like because it's like gonna get caught for this. Well, either
Okay.
that he's gonna get caught, or that it's
It's
gonna
bad
drive him
juju.
so crazy that he can't sleep, or that he's gonna be dead before the
Okay.
next time he goes to sleep.
Imagine the fear of never being able to sleep. Why is sleep necessary?
You rejuvenate your body and make your brain reset.
Okay,
Makes you function.
physically, your body just simply needs the rest. Mentally, we all know how good it feels to be rested.
Oh yeah, it feels nice.
And some of us are like, we're never gonna sleep, like we're not sleeping till June, so.
Yeah, pretty much.
And that's scary, right? You're like, how am I gonna survive? Imagine if you were scared you could never sleep again.
You'd probably get like sleep paralysis.
I think it has something to do with him being guilty and stuff. That he's like
Okay.
so guilty.
It's
that
his-
he's
just like
It's his inner
Duped out.
conscience. Did he really hear any of these things?
probably besides
We have no idea.
people in the room beside him, right? That's the only thing he actually did hear.
Did he though?
It could all be in his
That's a
mind.
real question.
Okay, now there was a second question from Lady Macbeth's early speech when she says the owl shrieked the fatal bellman.
I said that which hath made them drunk hath made me bold.
Okay, well, so back up. What made them drunk?
Her.
Their
wine
wine
that
she
they
gave
gave
to
him?
the king.
And how did that wine make her bold? What's a synonym for bold?
Brave.
Yep. Okay. So
Liquid
how?
courage, kind
Okay, so it made them pass out, but for her, the simple act of drugging them.
made her like powerful. She
Exactly.
took advantage of people.
Took the words right out of my mouth.
of because she took power over them.
Okay, how do you think Lady Macbeth is going to react to Macbeth's fears
That
here?
he's being a baby.
That would make sense, right? Given how she's treated him thus far. Okay. Let's flip to an extra page.
Who was
Okay.
it that thus cried?
Yep, top of 59.
Who was it that thus cried? Why, worthy thing, you do unbend your noble strength to think so brain-sickly of things? Go get some water and wash this filthy witness from your hand. Why did you bring up these daggers from the place? They must lie there. Go, carry them, and smear the sleepy grooms with blood.
I'll go no more. I'm afraid to think what I have done. Look on aunt again.
On it.
Again, I dare not.
Infirm of purpose. Give me the daggers. The sleeping and the dead are but as pictures. 'Tis the eye of childhood that fears a painted devil. If he do bleed, I'll gild the faces of the grooms withal, for it must seem their
And so she leaves. So what is her, when she says, take these back, he says,
No, I want to do it. I don't want to look
He's
at him.
like, he's too scared to go back over there.
yeah, says, I can't look at what I've done. I can't do it. And she says,
You're being stupid. I'll go do it.
people who are dead look just like,
People
In the picture?
alive.
sort of, alive, but doing what?
Posing?
Sleeping.
Yeah.
Oh!
So, get over it.
It's basically like they're sleeping.
Yes. And so she leaves. So he is standing there by himself. She is standing there by himself. He is standing there by himself when he hears a knock from off stage. Go ahead.
Once is that? How do you say that?
How is it?
How is it with me when every noise appalls me? What hands are here? Ha! They pluck out mine eyes. Will all great Neptune's ocean wash this blood clean from my hand? No. This my hand will rather the
Multitudinous.
multitudinous seas incarnate. Incarnadine, making the green one.
Okay, Neptune is the Roman equivalent of,
Roman god
oh
of
my
the
gosh,
sea.
I just forgot his name, Poseidon.
Oh, same.
And so Macbeth says, will all great Neptune's ocean wash the blood from my hands? If I put my hands into the ocean,
I'll sing the ocean red.
it will turn the oceans red. That's how obsessed he is with the blood on his hands. Okay? So he's staring at his bloody
Like it'll
hands.
never wash off.
He will never get it off. Okay, Lady Macbeth comes back.
My hands are of your color, but I shame to wear a heart so white. I hear a knocking at the south entry. Retire we to our chamber. A little water clears us of this deed. How easy is it then? Your constancy hath left you unattended. Hark, more knocking. Get on your nightgown, lest occasion call us and show us to be watchers, but not lost so poorly in your thoughts.
To know my deed, twere best not know myself. Wake Duncan with thy knocking. I would though couldst.
Curtain.
Don't.
Okay, so Macbeth just said, will all great Neptune's oceans wash this sin from my hands? Lady Macbeth comes in and says,
Someone's knocking at the top door?
no, about the bloody hands.
That hers
It'll
looks
wash
like
off.
his, but she can. It'll she'll
Yeah.
she'll
A
wash
little
them
water clears us of this deed.
But I shame to wear a heart so white.
That means I am ashamed that you are being so.
Baby.
Yeah. She's mean. I don't know
Yeah.
what to be married to her.
Rough.
So, retire me to our chamber. A little water will clear us of this deed. Get on your nightgown, lest occasion call us and show us to be watchers. Meaning, if someone is here, we don't want to be caught
Being awake.
out of bed. We're all supposed to be
Asleep.
sleeping right now. Okay? And Macbeth, the knocking, again with the noise. You know, anybody's cars ding when their seatbelts aren't on?
Yeah.
And the sound just makes you like
It drives you up. It goes ding ding.
want to like kill someone.
Yeah.
My van, mom van style, it will never stop beeping.
Really?
Ever. It will go off every 3 seconds for eternity if you do not put your seatbelt on. And it drives me absolutely nuts. That's how I think of as this knocking. It's that annoying dinging that you can't get to stop.
Mm-hmm.
And Macbeth says, why is it that every sound appalls me? Every noise reminds him of the sin he committed.
Dang.
He says, wake Duncan with thy knocking. I would if I could.
Wow.
So he is
He's having
feeling
major regrets.
intense regrets. Okay. We're actually going to watch scene 3.
So, when it says, what does Macbeth wish the knocking would do with just
what I just said.
Well, the knocking appalls him, and if he could knock on Duncan's door, then he would, but he...
And wake him up.
Yeah.
Okay, couple things. And then we're gonna watch scene 3. I'll wait till you get done talking, so I have your...
Why is Lady Macbeth so dismissive? She's so dismissive because she doesn't think it's a big deal? Or because she thinks he's being childish?
All of the above. Okay. Scene 3 begins with the knocking again. And the scene starts with a porter. Now, if you remember way back when we read Romeo and Juliet, one of the things I told you was that Shakespeare was responsible for making sure every member of the acting company he wrote for had a part. Some people believe the porter is that person. And also, if you recall, after moments of seriousness, Shakespeare often provides a little comic relief. Because if you're watching this on stage, you need to re-engage in the play. And if you're all feeling sad and blue about what just happened, it's harder to be an engaged audience. So he would get everybody's spirits lightened up and re-involved and then go back to whatever was happening. So that's probably, all of those things contribute to this scene, the beginning of the scene. So, a porter is a person who guards the gate. So he's been at the gate all night, and he's spent the entire time drinking to keep himself awake. When the sound of the knock is heard outside, he responds, knock, knock, knock. Who's there? Okay, knock, knock jokes. Then he gives this little comedy stand-up routine that the audience would find hysterical, but it's hard for us to believe it because we don't know what any of these things are. So it starts out and says, who's there in the name of Beelzebub, which is the prince of devils, or another word for Satan. Here's the farmer that hanged himself on the expectation of plenty. So someone who was covetous, who wanted more than they had. Come in, have napkins enough about you. Here you'll sweat for it. So if you would have worked as hard as you wanted things, maybe you wouldn't have wanted more than you had. Next one, knock knock, who's there? In the other devil's name, Faith, here's an equivocator. And if you look in the side, it says, one who intentionally speaks ambiguously, either by using words that can be interpreted in multiple ways, or by mentally, purposefully not saying enough. Okay, so it's a tricker, a con artist. An equivocator that could swear in both the scales against the other scale, and who committed treason enough for God's sake. So he can talk his way out of a wet paper sack. You ever heard anybody say that? He's a talker, and he can get himself out of any situation. So the porter is saying, knock, knock, who's there? And then he's answering himself. So the first answer he gives himself is a farmer who hung himself on the expectation of plenty. The second person who's there is an equivocator who could swear in both the scales against either scale. So you could put a pile of grain on here, and the scale goes up, which means it's heavier, and he would say, no, I don't owe you that much. Or reverse that. Oh no, I owe you more than that. So he can trick you out of believing what you can actually see. That's how good of a talker he is. Okay, the next one. An English tailor, come hither for stealing out of a French hose. Come in, tailor, here you may roast your goose. And if you look on the other side, it says, perhaps stealing cloth in the process of making breeches. And then here you can heat your tailor's iron, but goose is also slang for prostitute. So another person who tricks you. So first we have a farmer who hangs himself on the expectation of plenty. Then we have a smooth talker. Then we have a con artist, literally like who sells a trade and cheats you out of your money. So like he charges you for a yard of fabric when you only needed half. Okay? Then he charges me for another yard and Kylie for a third yard, but he uses your half and my half to make hers. And so he doubled his money. Make sense?
Doubles money and you guys don't get anything.
Or less than you paid for. Okay? So he gives all of these things, all of these people represent what? Sinners, the devil, bad things, right? And what's the job of the porter?
To watch and to keep, to keep them out of there.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah.
And the irony is,
they're all in there.
bad is
in the castle.
in there already.
Yeah.
Okay? So if you were watching this live on stage in the 1300s, you would have been laughing hysterically at how funny this was.
Okay.
See how you need me to explain
So the
it,
quote
because otherwise you wouldn't know what.
It's like if a man were a porter of Hellgate, he should have old turning the key. So
Okay.
how does he speak of the truth that he shouldn't let bad people in, but there's already bad stuff happening in there?
Yeah, exactly. If a man were porter of Hellgate, he should have old turning the key, meaning he should not let in
Like, wicked.
the bad,
Yeah.
and yet,
How does this work as comic relief? It's ironic, right?
yeah, and the audience would have recognized all of these references that he makes, even though we have no idea what he's talking about. Okay, let's actually do this. Let's have, Lexi, will you read Macduff and I'll be the porter? So the porter opens, we're gonna just read a little bit more of this, then we'll stop. That way we can watch all of it because we don't have enough time probably. So the porter opens the gate and Macduff, whom we have not met yet, but is another one of Duncan's high-ranking thanes, who was probably, the reason he's so late is probably because he was at the far reaches of the battle. So it just took him a day longer to get back than everybody else. And so the porter opens the door and sticks out his little bag or pan because he wants,
Money.
I pray you remember the porter, he wants his tip for doing his job. Okay. Go ahead, Macduff.
Was it so late, friend, ere you went to bed, that you do lie so late?
Faith, sir, we were carousing till the second cock, and drink, sir, is a great provoker of three things.
What three things does drink especially provoke?
Marry, sir, nose painting, sleep, and urine. Lechery, sir, it provokes and unprovokes. It provokes the desire, but it takes away the performance. Therefore, much drink may be said to be an equivocator with lechery. It makes him and it mars him. It sets him on and it takes him off. It persuades him and disheartens him, makes him stand to and not stand to. In conclusion, equivocates him in a sleep, and giving him the lie, leaves him. Okay, so again, the audience would be roiling at this hilarity. So, the Macduff says, "Why is everybody still sleeping? It's the crack of dawn. Like, people should be awake." He says, the porter says, "We just went to bed at the second
At like 3 o'clock.
crowing, 3 o'clock. Like, we've been drinking all night." And Macduff's like, "Really?" And like, okay, go into this. Remember, the porter's drunk, stumbling around, making a fool of himself. And so the porter explains 3 things that drinking does to the body. So, it provokes the desire, but takes away the performance.
I think we know what
You
this
know?
refers to.
Okay, good.
That
Okay.
is so awesome.
It makes him and it mars him. So, like, it makes you like, woo, but also, like, you do stupid stuff. And it sets him on, maybe, like, a good path, like, thinking you're all that, and then you wake up next to the Coyote Ugly, you know?
Sounds loser.
And then it persuades him to do things he wouldn't normally do,
Yeah.
and then disheartens him when he realizes what he has actually done. And so, in conclusion, it equivocates him in a sleep, then gives him the lie. Which means, like, I don't know, I hope none of you have experienced this, but if you, like, pass out drunk, when you wake up, you feel like you never slept at all, because it's not, like, real sleep. It's like your eyes were closed, but your body has been fighting to get this poison out of it, and so it hasn't actually rested. That's why people who are hungover like to sleep.
Is that why after people drink a lot, they're like, they'll sweat and the sweat will smell like alcohol?
Yes, because your body is trying to get rid of a poison that you have put into it.
Yeah, alcohol is
Literally.
literally liquid.
And that's why sometimes you puke, or, you know, your body wants to get it out. It's either coming out one hole or another.
One end or the other.
Or both.
Or pores, like pores or holes. Yeah, okay.
Any orphans.
Okay. Yes, so, I don't know the nose, that'd be, or ears, that'd be a little traumatizing.
Couldn't you
but-
see your eyes kind of have little orifice like right?
If you
Like
puke out of your nose, I mean.
About to rain.
Okay, so the audience would think this was hysterical. Macduff, he's not quite so funny. He kind of goes with it, but he's like, seriously, he's much more serious than some of the other guys involved in this party. Okay, Macduff,
I believe drink gave thee the lie last night.
that it did, sir, in the very throat on me. But I required him for his lie, and requited him for his lie. And I think, being too strong for him, though he took up my legs sometime, yet I made a shift to cast him. So he says, yeah, he got me, but I think in the end I came out on top.
Is thy master stirring?
And we will stop there because Macbeth walks out of the castle. After all this commotion of knocking, you can imagine that many people...
Because a porter, that's what he was hearing, was a porter just like
Yes,
telling
and that's
himself
what
that
Macbeth was hearing was... Okay, so let's clear that up. The knocking was real. Who was knocking?
The porter.
No,
McDuff.
Macduff and Lennox.
Oh, okay.
And it took the porter forever to answer because the porter was like, knock, knock, who's there? And he made stuff up.
Yeah.
And then eventually he does open the gate. So scene
This guy's my favorite character in the whole
Scene
book.
2, where they kill him, and scene 3, the beginning of the porter, are happening at the same time. The knocking the Macbeths hear in their bedroom is the same knocking that Macduff is outside knocking on the gate, and the porter is knock knock joking himself.
This is awesome. I like this
That is
guy.
actually really funny. I wish I understood.
Can I leave my stuff in here in this period, please?
Yes.
That is so funny. I
Oh,
like
yeah.
that.